As we have this online. Yes,
Ready?
ready to start.
First time in the chair. so Debbie's gonna walk me through it. All right, Debbie, so,
So you call to order
and
by,
we need the Spanish interpreter to please do your thing.
yes, Ricardo, can you unmute yourself? Thank you. We see you unmuted, Ricardo, but we're not hearing you. I've heard you before, Ricardo, but we don't hear you now at all. I can see you.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Gabriela. I will do the announcement because Ricardo has been assigned as interpreter. That's why you can't hear him in the main room.
Oh.
So I've logged on in a different device, so I can do the announcement if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Buenas noches, bienvenidos a nuestra reunión. Para quienes necesiten interpretación, este seminario ofrece traducción simultánea al español. Para acceder al canal en español en Zoom, siga estos pasos. En la barra de herramientas, en la parte inferior, haga clic con el icono del mundo que dice interpretación. También lo puede encontrar haciendo clic en el círculo con 3 puntitos que dice More o más. Seleccione español en la lista de idiomas disponibles. Si prefiere no escuchar el audio original, puede seleccionar silenciar audio original para una traducción más clara. Para las personas que asisten en persona y deseen un auricular de interpretación, pueden dirigirse al personal del Distrito 5, quien les ayudará a obtener uno. Gracias y esperamos que disfruten la reunión. Good evening, welcome to our meeting. For those who need interpretation, this webinar offers simultaneous Spanish interpretation. You can access the Spanish channel on Zoom by following these steps. On the toolbar on the bottom right, click on the globe icon labeled interpretation, and you can also find this by clicking on the circle with 3 dots. Select Spanish from the list of available languages. If you prefer not to hear the original audio, you can select mute original audio. English speakers who wish to hear comments made in Spanish interpreted into English can click on the English channel to hear the interpretation. For those attending in person who would like an interpretation headset, please see District 5 staff who can assist you in getting one. Thank you very much and enjoy your meeting.
Okay, can we do the roll call, please?
Now we can do the roll call. Patty Thayer, here. Vicky Clues,
Here.
Ty Hilton,
Here.
Carrie Hernandez, here. Jen Otten, here. Spencer Scott,
Here.
and Betsy Van Dyke, here. And Tony Goodwin and Joe Rogoff and our student representative Faye Zamora were unable to attend.
All right, and now we move to approval of this agenda. I did want to think about one change, Debbie,
To the order?
to the agenda itself.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little tiny wording change under the ad hoc committees. Because ad hocs don't have to have a chair,
Right.
the presentation doesn't have to be done by any particular person on the ad hoc, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't think we should say the by the chair.
Where does it say that? No, that is if the chair forms a new ad hoc.
Oh, well,
That's
okay,
it.
but then. So it says updates from existing ad hocs.
Right, and then the land use ad hoc. Yeah, that's just a,
Well, I think
semantic.
a lot of people don't understand that ad hocs don't have to have a chair,
Right,
so we just want to be
Right.
clear about that.
okay,
Other than that, any other?
so that,
changes
so
to the-
let's by the MAC chair.
Mac chair.
Yeah.
I'm gonna,
Mhm.
okay,
Perfect.
okay,
Any other changes? Do we need a vote on approval for the agenda?
yes,
Okay.
so we need a, motion and a second, and then we can do a voice.
So
vote.
moved. Thank you.
Betsy and Jen,
Yes.
and then you just all in favor.
So in favor of?
Aye. And then you can just
All
ask if there were any opposed.
Any opposed?
abstention, but it was all yes.
Because all were ayes.
Yeah.
So,
Just,
see how smart I am? Okay. And we're gonna move to conflict of interest. Does anybody on the council need to stay out of any comments on the presentation tonight? Nope. I see nobody opposing. Debbie, do we need a?
no, we can just move on to item 4.
Okay, so council member comment, these are comments for issues, concerns, things that come up that aren't on the agenda right now, but we really want to encourage everybody on the council to bring agenda items to us. We just can't have a discussion about those things. We can decide whether they should be agendized or not, correct? Okay, perfect. So any comments, not on the agenda? Yes.
I talked to Debbie about this a couple of weeks ago, but it seems it would be nice for the MAC to have an update on what's going on with the Vacation Beach Dam and Bridge. And possibly it would be a good idea to invite Park and Rec to make a presentation at an upcoming meeting.
Oh, I do have an update on that. I'll let you know.
Oh, okay.
I can
Okay,
speak to that, or if you want me to right now.
you can.
It was in yesterday's newsletter. You may not have gotten all the way to yet. It's a long newsletter. They are working to get the necessary work done to be able to put in the dam, but public infrastructure will be able to proceed with the summer crossing nonetheless, unless river flows are particularly high, which could delay it, but the dam does not have to be in order for this.
The bridge, we talked about that
Yeah.
actually. But I still think it would be a good idea for Park and Rec to come in
To
and
come and make a
presentation.
presentation.
Not necessarily just about that, but they've got.
Yes,
I agree. And it sort of segues in with what Kelly's gonna talk.
Yeah. I'll make a note of that.
Any other council member comments? Or items to agenda?
And another thing that I talked to Debbie about was keeping an eye out for any updates that are going to heavily impact our community with regards to healthcare. And Medi-Cal. And as things move.
Because of
What's going
Yeah.
on in Washington. There was a big public, I don't know if Linda was at it, but our congressman went and did a presentation in front of San Rose Community Health. But I thought it might be nice to have West County Community Health come and give us some kind of presentation about where, because they have direct access to the portals and are getting letters and, keeping an eye on these things. It might make sense for them to come in and do an update for us. West County. It's just a thought.
It's a good thought. Any other? All right, we'll move on then to public comments of things not on the agenda now. But perhaps might be an agendized item at some point.
Well,
Hi, Cynthia.
hi, I'm Cynthia Halliday. I'm representing our newest HCT COPE, which is in the Hollydale Canyon Terrace area. And I
And
had
tell
introduced,
everyone what COPE.
okay, COPE it stands for Communities Organizing to Prepare for Emergencies. And this is a program that comes through the Office of Emergency Management and has been highly supportive of us starting up through the Northern Sonoma County COPE, which has been established for quite a while. So they're mentoring us. They are an umbrella over us as an associated COPE starting in the river area. We also, I wanted to make a point of saying that the initial, Steve Finnegan is here, but the initial support of Vicky and Steve to encourage our neighborhood to just begin the process, because we have a fire safe council already, and we are a fire wise community. but we didn't have the community organized in such a way that we could help because really the focus and mission around COPE is neighbors helping neighbors. So all those things that we need to get out and physically do to be prepared for emergencies, whether it be, our go bags or stay provisions, our clearing of roadside vegetation, chipping, all these things related to the variety of things that we can face, that we need lots of hands. And we have talents and resources amongst us that we can share. So we started this just before the LA fires, where it was just an interest meeting. And that's where, Steve showed up with Becky Boyle. It was just a few of us. There were 7 of us at the first meeting. And the whole thing took off. Okay.
Sorry, I should have
So-
mentioned that there is a time.
Okay,
Of 2
so-
minutes.
The fact is we're highly supported and highly motivated, and you will continue to hear from us because we do have crossover concerns related to egress, emergency communication, and we've made progress in those areas. So I'm gonna say thank you for your time, and we'll keep you posted.
Huge
All right.
supporter. Thank you,
Yeah,
Cynthia.
thank you.
Steve Bennigan,
Steve, yeah.
if I can have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't have a timer on, but I want
We
to
do.
thank you Supervisor Hopkins and all of you for your time. Vicky already responded to an email and forwarded it to Che from Linda's office, but I wanted to mention, so longtime resident of Russian River Terrace, and we have a Russian River Terrace Association, which is more of a beach association. But this came up last year at our summer meeting, and there's residents concerned about a section of Summer Home Park Road that has been damaged and has got some cones, and the concern is that that section could wash out, and how would residents have safe egress during wildfire and likewise during flood. So the basically as thank you for Cynthia's introduction. And so what we're asking for is a comprehensive plan that could address both the necessary road repairs and ensure safe emergency vehicle access and resident egress throughout the repair process. So I'm sure that we hope to hear this. I won't be here in the April meetings. That's why I came tonight. But hopefully by May, we can hear if there's a plan and timeline. I know you guys have a lot of priority projects, and we appreciate the hard work that you guys are doing, but we definitely would just like to update our association and by Memorial Day. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And I walk by there almost every day, and I know it's a hazard.
Tony Goodwin, right there.
Any other public comments for items not on the agenda or for future agenda items? No? Okay.
Online.
Oh,
Thank you.
online. Thank you, Patty,
We do
there.
have the hand raised.
That's it. You can unmute yourself and make your public comment.
Yes, thank you. 2 things. I want to make sure people in the river area know that there is a Forestville Town Hall coming up on March 27th at 5:30 p.m. at the El Molino Library at 7050 Covey Road in Forestville. Doors open at 5 p.m. Many good topics on that agenda, whether you live in Forestville or not. And then for future agenda items, we've had in the past where public infrastructure has come by and spoken about specific projects that are in repair, which ones are coming up. Those things mean a lot to us, and getting that kind of a detailed report from public infrastructure has been extremely helpful every time it's happened. We've had them out in the Monterey Community Center that has all of the ability to do the screens and all the rest of the stuff that people can say, what's happening to my road here in particular. And I know that public infrastructure has a really good website with all the current projects and the future projects mapped. But I think this personal presentation has done a lot for the community to be aware of what the MAC does, as well as what's going on in their own neighborhood. So I'd like to recommend it as a coming out of winter and out of our storm, we would have an update to roads that of people's concerns. And if there's a way for people to ask for specific projects to be reviewed in advance, that would be a very good thing to do. Thank you.
Anybody else online, Debbie?
Now, if there's anybody else online who'd like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. Nope, we can move on.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're up for county update. Linda Hopkins, can you give us an update?
I have a lot on my agenda today, so I apologize, but I feel like there's a lot to
Well,
cover.
remember to speak slowly so the interpreter.
I have it up here. She texts me if I get too naughty.
You're the poster child for that.
I try to take pauses. I can't slow
That's good.
myself down, but I will try to make awkward stops. I want to start off with some really great news, which is you probably read about the Monterey Redwoods acquisition, the expansion. That's 1,500 acres that are going to be added on to the Monterey Redwoods Park. And this is something that I've been working with regional parks on for years, and I'm super excited about. I just found out today that that is anticipated to go before the Board of Supervisors, hopefully in May, for the formal sort of award of funds and for the transfer to regional parks. And also want to mention that at the same time, in the next few days, if it hasn't launched already, there's actually a survey for the initial property that's going to be out in the community, and we will definitely send that information out. They didn't make it in time for our last email newsletter, but we'll get it in the next one. And so that's going to actually guide our master plan for that park. What do you all want to see in Monterey? What kind of amenities do you want to have? What do you want this to look like? And then in addition to the property that has been in the news with the Save the Redwoods League, there actually are additional parcels that we are also working on acquiring that are currently owned by the Sweetwater Springs Water District. So there's actually tremendous potential to really have a, I think, world-class park of, more than 2,000 acres connecting Monterey to the coast, which I think will be great for Monterey and just really the whole area for destination tourism, and what we're going to talk about later. I also want to address West Side Road. I got an update from Public Infrastructure Director Johannes. This is the big slide, of course, where the house floated down the river. He is exploring possible engineering solutions that could allow a one-lane opening. We are also pursuing the Bailey Bridge as a possible solution. I'm really pushing him and trying to hold his feet to the fire that we cannot have a hard closure there and a hard closure at Wooler Bridge at the same time, because it's unacceptable for folks to have to drive an hour extra. And in terms of fire season, I think that's a very dangerous situation that I do not want to put residents in. And as a reminder, the Wooler Bridge work has been planned for years, maybe possibly decades. And unfortunately, it's just supposed to start this spring. Bad timing with West Side Road falling into the Russian River. But just want to let you know that we're still on that. I may be asking you all for support during the April budget presentations, because that's when we're going to be discussing emergency road funding. And so we'll definitely let you know if there's an opportunity for advocacy there, and also potentially reach out to our other MACs and other communities, so we get kind of a majority of supervisors hearing from their constituents, because I believe West Soda Rock Lane had a catastrophic sort of slide in North County, and then Cavedale Road in East County. So there's at least 3 of us who have major road failures.
Well, the Hacienda District really wants West Side to something,
It's
and protecting the homes that are still there
Yeah,
after
so
one slid, yeah.
we're working on that. It's crazy to think that you could literally see, like where you can get to, and I can see River Road, and yet I have to go all the way around. So we need to have a solution there. Wanted to mention that there are new CAL FIRE fire hazard severity maps. And so now is the opportunity to review and comment on those, which highlight the areas at risk of wildfires. They do impact building standards, real estate disclosures, and defensible space requirements, and they claim that they do not affect insurance decisions. I don't know if that's really true. It seems like the insurance companies look for anything that they can to give an excuse to not cover you these days. So if you go to the Sonoma County Fire Prevention and Hazardous Materials, the mouthful, Hazardous Materials Division's Fire Safe Regulations page, there's more info there. And it's the Office of the State Fire Marshal Map Local Response Map.
But is it that we can still comment on it, or?
You can.
So it's not like FEMA where we just found it.
Right, this is still a comment phase. So I also wanted to mention that the fifth district team met, was it Friday, I think, to review SIF and TIF grants. And so notices have been going out to community-based organizations about awards of funding, good things happening in your community. We will kind of make that final when it goes before the board and share all of the good news. But we really did our best to support West County local nonprofits
That's
and West
closed
County
already.
local events.
And
So SIF is Community Investment Fund and TIF is Tourism Impact Fund.
those are the,
District-specific county fund.
they're
where
closed to submit.
There, no, you can actually submit and we've not spent all of the money. So we will actually be doing a second round of review later this year.
So
So
is there somewhere that we can get that information out?
I'll
yeah,
send
send
you
us an email, we
guys.
can.
Okay, I think that,
follow
yeah,
up.
because I saw some things for Pride coming through and I put that to people. I don't think people know that that's an option still.
I'll send you the link.
Don't think I don't remember them applying, so, but they could definitely still get in and then we save some funds, so they're not all spent down for people who missed the first deadline. I also want to just acknowledge what everyone can see out the window, which is the Caltrans construction and the horrifying impact on our local businesses. We know the construction is necessary. We know the sidewalks need to be fixed. And it's really tough for all of our downtown businesses. And I think that actually sort of bleeds over into, you know, even kind of beyond the downtown. And so that's one of the reasons I'm really glad that Kelly from Sonoma County Tourism is here today. But I do want you to know that we will be recommending funding for the Russian River Chamber to be able to hire someone who has expertise in actually filing claims with Caltrans of sort of saying that, you know, this business has lost this amount of money and so, and Caltrans compensate them. We have found no other way of extracting money from the state. We have tried, we have reached out to our state reps. We have had conversations with Caltrans and unfortunately we've gotten nowhere. And we had no control over this process. As you can tell by the fact that we didn't have access to our building for, I don't know, several months. I was ducking under the caution tape. So we have not gotten good information from Caltrans. We've gotten better information from the contractor, but it's been rough. Also want to mention an item that came before the Board of Supervisors that generated quite a bit of feedback. And that was that Sonoma County is considering updates, and it's going to sound also very boring and bureaucratic, to its public hearing and administrative procedures. So this is through Permit Sonoma, which would include creating a zoning administrator public hearing process, shifting major project reviews to the Planning Commission, and eliminating the Board of Zoning Adjustments and Project Review and Advisory Committee. So this was sort of to streamline permitting processes for ones that were sort of less controversial and still allow for plenty of public input and oversight and commentary on items, you know, of significant interest to the community. However, the community wasn't totally convinced that that was Permit Sonoma's intent, and so there was a lot of feedback. So it is going back to the planning agency, which is both the BZA and the Planning Commission combined for further review. So if you want to engage in that process, it will be coming up before the planning agency. So other changes that were included in this do include extending permit terms in the coastal zone, clarifying appeal processes, and closing inactive applications. The Planning Commission did review and recommend this, but it's going to go back around because we got a lot of feedback. We want to make sure we got this right. I think Debbie already covered the dam. Just wanted to mention that, you know, and I want to also clarify that it is the Russian River Rec and Park District that handles the dam and public infrastructure that handles the crossing. So a lot of people have been emailing us thinking that we put in the dam, and that's never been sort of the county's role. One of those frustrating things where we point to another level of government, but that's how it is. And then also we just want to acknowledge the All MAC meeting, and thank you very much to the folks who attended. This month's agenda is full, but my understanding is it will be agendized in April. The one thing that I want to say is it made me actually so proud and appreciative of everything that you all do. Because I think that the other MACs were, I know this is being recorded, but I'll say it anyway, a little jealous of the fact that you all are extremely effective and you get things done in your local communities. And you're also out there engaging with the community at community events. And so it's a level of leadership that actually it turns out is unique in the entire county, the work that you're doing and the work that the Postmac is doing. So thank you for your service. and
Well,
for making a difference.
They were
So-
jealous of the fact that we have somebody like you who listens and comes to meetings and takes care of what we need to have taken care of. So it goes back to you as well.
Thank you, Vicky. And I
And
would
your
say it goes back to the staff.
Yes.
And the fact that we actually have dedicated staff who treat you like elected officials, you know, like, I mean, that, like, with the respect, you're the leader in your community. And if we can't accomplish it at a meeting, how do we connect you to the department head? How do we make sure that your issues are addressed? And Debbie does an amazing job of that. Jay and Lupe also do an awesome job of that. So thank you, for your willingness to step into this role, because y'all are getting it done. It turns out,
Tracy too.
of course, Tracy. Tracy met sort of master and there, control the whole thing. But most directly, I mean, this has been Debbie's baby for quite some time now, so. Also wanted to address, I'm guessing that you all have been hearing a lot about the asphalt plant in Forestville. I'm gonna say this, and it's sort of a bummer thing to say, which is that I can't comment on it. And so I can't take a position on it, because if I did, it would actually affect my ability to objectively review it when it comes to the Board of Supervisors. So if I either support or oppose it, I would actually have to recuse myself from voting on it, because those land use hearings, you actually serve in a quasi adjudicatory role, so semi-judge-like basically. And if I show any bias ahead of the hearing, I have to recuse myself. That does not actually apply to you. And we actually sort of had a conversation with county council. But you know, we can talk about sort of the details and information with the MAC on that later. And I do want to mention, we are a couple of years away from that even getting to the Board of Supervisors. So we're very, very early stages. I do want to share the information of Stephen Shirk, who is the reviewer who's assigned to this project. So it's Stephen Shirk, and I'll spell his name because it's a little bit unusual spelling. So Stephen, Stephen, Shirk, Schurke. So again, that's Stephen, Schurke, and it's Stephen.Shirk@sonoma-county.org, or you can call 707-565-1900. And that's 707-565-1900. And so he's compiling feedback, community feedback, and that's kind of how feedback can become part of the record for the project. So we are tracking it very closely. I'm following all of the conversations. I'm absorbing as much as I can, but I can't say I love it or I hate it, because if I do, I can't vote on it. And I think that gets through my list. Oh, one other thing I want to mention, TOT and how we spend those dollars will be coming before the Board of Supervisors. Don't know when yet, stay tuned, but we will definitely let you know, because I believe that is of keen interest to West County that generates about half of it, countywide. Any questions?
Quick question on the Waller Bridge. Is that going to still be able to stay on track for work? Do you have any information on that?
We are hoping that that will stay on track for work, or only have like a very, very minor delay, because that's been promised for many, many years, and it's not seismically safe right now, so we don't want to, so we definitely want to get that thing strengthened. And it's gonna be a delicate dance with Johannes, trying to figure out how we get West Side Road open before that closes down.
Any other questions for Linda? Thank you.
Yeah, and then we can do questions with anyone from the public.
Is Fuller Bridge going to be just a rebuild, or they have to replace it?
They're not replacing it, no, it's really like a retrofit, so it's just gonna be strengthening the existing structure. Yeah, that's one of the coolest bridges in West
And the
County. Yeah, so beautiful. Great.
And I don't see any hands raised online. Oh, do you have public comment? I don't see, if there's anybody in the virtual room that has a comment. raise your hand. Okay.
Good.
We're good.
Okay, so we're gonna welcome Kelly Seibel, who is the Vice President of Community Engagement for Sonoma County Tourism. And she's gonna suggest.
Then I hope that was him.
He's gonna talk with us about a new initiative called the Wine Country for All of Us.
Give me just a second to share my screen.
Please. Okay. That's kidding that we know.
I actually tried to keep my slides as, they're not super text heavy or anything, so hopefully it won't affect those of you that have to turn around too terribly much. But, okay, so thank you, for having me. I really appreciate just, your willingness to add me to your agenda and to have a conversation. I know this community has had such a rich history with tourism. Sometimes it's ebbed and flowed over the years, and just really do appreciate, you know, the tremendous role that you all play in welcoming visitors to our community, and then also the role that tourism plays in the local economy out here in West County. I'm gonna do a brief overview, and really what I'm hoping to do is I can talk a little bit about Sonoma County tourism. I want to talk a little bit about just what we're seeing right now from a number standpoint. And then really talk about our newest initiative, which is Wine Country for All of Us. But I also am really looking for some feedback from you all on some things that we can do hopefully together to continue to mitigate impacts of tourism, particularly on those, you know, during the summer months, but then also maybe brainstorm a little bit about what's happening out here too. So, for those of you that don't know, Sonoma County Tourism is a 501c6. We are a destination stewardship organization. We were the nation's first destination stewardship organization. Really what that meant was a recognition in 2018 that more than just marketing Sonoma County as a place for tourists to come, we also needed to work with the local community to steward our community and our county and preserve it, and understand that while tourists come and visit, what the reason they're coming to visit here is because of the people and the experiences and the landscape. So our board has really leaned into not just marketing Sonoma County for visitors, but also ensuring that we're stewarding our community's resources. We are comprised, I will say, of a board that is made up of both, I'm also gonna say, if I speak too quickly, let me know. I have a bad habit of doing them. So
Interpreters will let us know,
Okay.
and then I'll hold this up.
perfect, thank you. So our board is comprised of two different groups of people. We're funded through two different funding sources. Our primary funding source is through our business improvement area. So that is a 2% assessment on overnight stays in Sonoma County, and all of Sonoma County, with the exception of the cities of Sonoma and Pittsburgh, who opted out when we were funded 20 years ago. And it's on lodging properties that are at $350,000 or more of revenue per year. So many of our vacation rentals don't actually pay into our business improvement area. That said, and I will also say the way that that code is written into state law, it is primarily, it has to be spent for marketing dollars for overnight stays. So that really restricts how those dollars can be spent. That said, our Board of Supervisors has recognized that there's much more to Sonoma County than where people lay their head at night. And our small businesses that comprise the majority of our tourism economy are not necessarily hotels. We also receive a portion of TOT. It's 1.25% of the first 9% of the 12% collected. We can talk about how that works. In the unincorporated area of the county. And really that allows us to do the stewardship work that we're doing and to partner more closely with the local community. So there's a portion of our board that is made up of hoteliers, where they have to have either a management or an ownership role or a role in a lodging property that pays into our BIA. But then we also have Board of Supervisors appointed board members on our board. And you are so fortunate to be very well represented on the TOT on the board appointed side. You have two District 5 representatives, Kirsten Launch, who is an amazing advocate for underserved communities, and then Margaret Graham, who is up on Timber Cove. But then from this local community, you're also represented. Krista Lubke sits on our board. I'm gonna, if I try to just do it off the top of my head, I'm gonna forget, but you're very well represented in the West County. We've got Tara Butara out on the coast, several different committees are comprised of West County, Joe Bartlome from Farmhouse Inn is also on our board, so very much represented, and probably the best representation of the county comes from West County. So that said, one of the things that we base all of our decisions on is based off of research, and we have lots and lots of research. We talk about, look at the economic impact, we look weekly at occupancy numbers, we look at where people are coming from when they're here, we look about the length of stay. And so I just do want to recognize the economic impact of the travelers that are coming here. The caveat being that the numbers that we get are on an annual basis and they don't actually get released until May. So you're looking at data from 2023. We'll receive 2024 data about the first week of May. So this shows you the spending from tourists in our community. So in 2023, it was a little over, so actually for spending, it's been the economic impacts in billions. It should be not millions, it's $2.2 billion. The number right below that is earnings. So that's earnings from jobs in this industry. And in employment, it represents almost 22,000 jobs in our community. And that's about 1 in 10 or 1 in 11 jobs. The other thing to pay attention to is also just the revenue that comes back through taxes. And when we say that, that's sales tax, TOT, but we capture about $121 million in Sonoma County in local taxes collected from the tourist dollar. When you look at just the unincorporated area for this last year, it's, but we know that there's more tourism jobs in the unincorporated area than anywhere else. It's over 10,000 jobs, and it's 59.6, so $60 million in local tax revenue that's coming back into local government's coffers. Before I move on to Wine Country for Olives, I just want to do a little bit of level setting about where the industry is. Okay, so if we think about Sonoma County in the last 6 years, longer, since 2017, this industry has been through it, and probably a more challenging way than the majority of the country, tourism industry. Starting with the 2017 fires and the way that those headlines portray the county, everyone thought the entire state of California was on fire. Then we've gone through, we've had fire, I don't know if I was the word, it's like fire, flood, fire, pandemic. And then we've now come out of that, and we still do see the effects as a community when natural disaster happens elsewhere in our state. We were getting calls during the LA fires asking if we were okay. So people really are outside of California don't have a great understanding of geography. So we do a lot of crisis management. I'm a bit far from the microphone or the computer. So, don't know how to fix
So,
that. I will just,
yeah,
oh my,
they're lofty.
there's multiple breaks.
Yes.
Okay, let me know if this is better. So what, one of the things that we continue to deal with is both the perception of natural disaster when it happens here, and also how do we work with our local community to make sure that we're prepared. So I'm not going to touch on all of the crisis preparedness work that we've done, including work with our vacation rental community. But if you're interested, I know there's another emergency preparedness workshop happening this Saturday that'll be speaking out specifically about what we've done as an organization to work closely. And I will also say that we worked really hard to be a source of good information during disasters for businesses that are looking to communicate with their guests on what's happening, to the point that we do actually have a seat in the county's EOC during natural disasters, so we can put out accurate information to those that are communicating directly with visitors while they're here. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's something that's very unique for us in Sonoma County. It does not happen across the country in other organizations like ours. That said, looking at where the industry is now, so we've come, we've started to see a recovery from COVID. And then this last year, we really saw a peak come up in 2022. And then 2023 and 2024 were very challenging for us. The beginning of last year, particularly businesses out in the West County, saw the effects of the rain. We know that our slow season, and this is also usually when we do our paid marketing in, we always have an always on
strategy with website and social media and things, but when we actually go out and do paid advertising, it's this time of year, this shoulder season, when we know that businesses are slower. We last year saw a tremendous slowdown, and then we continued to hear last year how things were slow. We did a lot of things internally as an organization in terms of trying to figure out what was going on. We did a non-visitor study. We asked people who had not been here, who both live in California and live in the Western US, why they weren't coming to Sonoma County. Some of it was a lack of awareness. Some of the number 3 reason on the list was media perception of San Francisco. So if somebody was going to go to San Francisco and the next time their trip and come up to North Bay, they particularly outside of California were really turned off by what they were hearing about San Francisco on the media. So we've done a lot of work to talk about and think about who we are as a community. How do we want to present ourselves to the world? And so this last fall, we started to lean into this. Our brand slogan has been "Life Opens Up," and it still remains "Life Opens Up." But if you think of that destination stewardship, if you think of us as an iceberg, if destination stewardship is the bottom of the iceberg, right above that is "Life Opens Up," and then you're at the waterline. Well, what's right above the waterline? That's where Wine Country for All of Us comes in. We want to position Sonoma County as a place that is welcoming, as a place that is inclusive, that is a place where all travelers feel like they can belong, and that they're really getting a true Sonoma County experience. So we launched this, we started talking about this in the fall, and while being very aware of what was happening politically in the world, this was done more so because we wanted to put a stake in the ground about who we are as a community versus trying to make a huge political statement. That said, I can tell you I've spent a lot of time on the phone with other organizations like ours across the country. I was on the call with 15 other destinations across the country, and we are the only destination that was on that call. They call themselves Sustainability Brain Trust, but organizations that market for tourism that work on sustainability. I was the only one on the call that could say we are putting a stake in the ground. We will continue to talk about ourselves as being diverse. We will continue to talk about sustainability and climate change. We will continue to talk about, being welcoming and embracing all types of people. I was incredibly proud to be able to say that and to know that we had our board behind us and really continuing to say, we're going to open our arms to all people. We've got a long history in our community of being a welcoming and inclusive destination. And so this is just amplifying that. That said, so Wine Country for All of Us, I talked about, we're at that right above that iceberg, we're right above that waterline. With that, it's not just a marketing campaign, and I'll talk about what's the tip of the iceberg, which is our paid marketing campaign. But really, in addition to that, we said, okay, what does that mean? This is a multi-year initiative for us as an organization. What does that mean? So there's a couple of things that we're going to be implementing in the next, either right now and in the next year, next couple of years. We've done a lot of work in the sustainability space, and that will continue. We can talk about that in a little bit. But we also are now partnering with an organization called Wheel the World. They are a booking platform for those with physical and accessibility issues. So if you're in a wheelchair, if you've got a visual impairment, if you're a hearing impaired, they serve as a booking platform where you're going on and you can go book your vacation, and you can book either whether it be lodging or attractions or restaurants, and you know what you're getting before you walk in the door. It gives a lot of confidence. If you're in a wheelchair, you may know that a hotel is going to be ADA compliant, but you don't know what the height of their mattress is, and you don't know if you can maybe transfer yourself safely from your wheelchair into your mattress. If you're hearing impaired, does that lodging establishment have things in place, have a room available for you that if the fire alarm goes off in the middle of the night, you're going to be alerted in a different way. So Wheel the World is going to be working with at least 70 businesses in Sonoma County. They come in and they do a quick assessment. When I say quick, they say it takes about an hour for them to do an assessment of a hotel and about 20 to 30 minutes to do an assessment of a smaller retail or restaurant establishment. There's a bunch of different criteria that they look for, and it's not a place of judgment of what someone doesn't have. The business does receive a private assessment saying these might be things you want to consider. But for the things that business does have, they will then go ahead and put that on their website. And we're going to have Sonoma County page where folks that are traveling and booking through Wheel of the World can go on and go, okay, these are businesses that I know that when I come to Sonoma County, I know what I'm gonna get when I walk in the door. So that's one piece of it, and we'll continue to work with Wheel of the World. They have worker destinations all over the world, on opening up, travel opportunities to those who maybe previously weren't able to. The second, piece in this is around training. We also know that as much as I wanna say that we are really, really, opening, we're open and we're accepting, we know that that might not be the case for every traveler. So, we're gonna be working with a company called Hospitable Me. They are launching something called the 7 Secrets of Hospitality, as it is a training curriculum. They've worked with travelers from all different backgrounds. And what someone might experience, you know, what I might experience as a woman traveler or as a Jewish traveler might be a different experience. What I'm looking for to feel safe when I travel could be very different than someone who's traveling as a Black traveler or somebody who's traveling as a LGBTQ traveler. So they've done a lot of work working with different people from different backgrounds to talk about what do those folks need to feel safe and what type of training needs to happen so that when someone walks in that has a different life experience, they're greeted with care and respect and have a wonderful experience in the destination they're visiting. So we'll be working with them to launch curriculum this fall. That'll be done through our accredited hospitality professional program, which is a workforce development program where we work with frontline staff. And we're gonna be one of the first destinations they work with in terms of rolling this training out beyond that. They've done it as a keynote for quite some time, but they've actually now developed a longer curriculum. So that's another piece of the pie for One Country for All of Us. The other piece I want to talk about that's very visible now for us is our paid marketing campaign. So when I mentioned it's One Country for All of Us, I've talked a little bit about the destination being down, and I think if anyone here is in the wine industry or has talked to somebody in the wine industry, we also know that wine consumption is down, and our wineries are desperately looking for business and working to keep their doors open. So we very intentionally have leaned into being wine forward by saying this is wine country, but also wanting to be fun and unexpected and show people that when they come to Sonoma County, it's about the experience they have. There's wine and it's the world's best wine, but there's also zip lining. There's also farm to table cuisine. There's coastline. I think those are all over there. There's several different pictures, but what's neat about this campaign is that the photos that are being used are all user generated content. So we've worked to find people's real pictures, gotten the rights to use them, and are using those through our campaign so that we can really show real experiences in Sonoma County. So this is the paid campaign that's happening right now. And it's happening in the Bay Area, in our direct flight markets out of the Santa Rosa Airport. And then our board did just approve some additional funding. And we look at heat maps of where some of the warmer markets are for people to travel to Sonoma County. Chicago and New York have been showing up quite a bit recently. So we actually are doing some paid marketing in Chicago and New York. We haven't done that previously. The nice part about what we're doing right now that we've never done before is the ads that we're putting out there are, they've got a pixelated ad, it's got a pixel on it. And this is one of those things, it's a big brother thing, but at least it's trackable. At least we're gonna get some data out of it. So if you've looked at an ad on your phone and you have then clicked on the ad and then your phone ends up in Sonoma County, we will not only, it's rather than just saying, oh, so we saw this ad and this is the ROI that we think we got, we'll actually be able to say X number of people saw this ad and then made a decision to come to Sonoma County for X amount of time.
Wow.
So a little big brotherish, but also this is happening more and more with advertising. So it is nice that we will be able to get some real data out of what we're doing to see if this campaign is working. We have the paid campaign that is going on right now. It started in the end of February. It will run actually through June. We are keeping it on a little bit longer than we would have traditionally because the industry has been so slow. But it will wind down and we'll shift to our always on strategy in July. Something that we really are watching though is international travel. Canada has been one of our target markets for the last year. We are really watching that closely. there is some data that's coming out on a national level already that is talking about what people are seeing in terms of the flight market being down. We are anecdotally starting to hear from smaller operators here that they are seeing cancellations from their Canadian bookings. So we're very closely watching our international marketing. We don't do a lot of paid marketing, but we do work a lot of times with tour operators. And our international markets are typically PR driven, Germany, the UK, Canada. So we're watching that and adjusting accordingly. I just want to shift to some of the sustainability programming that we've done. I hope that you all participated in Black Cod Week last year. It was a great partnership with the Economic Development Collaborative, with Supervisor Hopkins' office, to help our fishing community. We're hoping that we'll be able to do that again this year, but really, looking at a solution, we've got fisheries along the coast that have really suffered through canceled crab or shortened crab and salmon seasons. So what are some other ways that we could help sustain that business along our coastline? So bringing attention to a sustainable fish, black cod is a way that we could help partner with that. One of the my favorite partnerships that we've done over the last couple of years has been with Leave No Trace. And I just realized I have the Parks logo on that thing. Maybe I have to change, but it's been a partnership with Regional Parks, Leave No Trace, which is a national organization, and Sonoma County Tourism, to come up with cohesive messaging that could be used both from businesses. It's used with signage along the coast, and it's giving we've got a toolkit available where we can give businesses the toolkit that they need to use tested language to help people understand how to treat our community when they come here, and our outdoor space when they come here. One of the things I'm hoping to brainstorm with you today, we've got a great relationship with Regional Parks on this. A lot of their, the land that is managed by parks has great Leave No Trace messaging. That said, we also know that the impacts, particularly along the river beaches during holidays, holiday weekends during the summer or during the summer in general, the impact has been tremendous, whether it be on neighborhoods or whether it be on, the beaches. The challenge that we are up against is twofold. One, it is land managers, like there's so many entry points to all of those places. How do we help develop stronger relationships and opportunities to have the same messaging in other places that are not managed by the regional parks? And then I couple that with, and in a way that we can, that we can manage it, because we also know that if we're going to do something like a sign campaign and have signs created and they're put in cement buckets, well, we also know this all have to be removed before it starts to rain here so that they're not caught in the flood zone. So there's some challenges, but I think there's some amazing opportunities. I kind of want to brainstorm with you a little bit tonight about what we might be able to do, or if there's an opportunity for us to brainstorm in the future as we approach summer, but how we can do some better messaging. The one tool that we tried last Labor Day was we do also run the Sonoma County app. So our website, sonomacounty.com, it gets millions of visitors per year. But then we also encourage people when they're here to use the Sonoma County app. They can build itineraries. They can understand really how geographically large our county is. So you're not going to maybe want to spend, the morning in Timber Cove and you don't want to then go to lunch in Sonoma. So we help them itinerary build. But the other thing that we can do is when you have the app downloaded, we can geofence and do targeted pop-up notifications on somebody's phone. So last Labor Day, we actually did, we geofenced some of the river beaches, and when you drove into that geofencing, if you had cell service, but a lot of folks, I've tested it with a couple different cell phone providers, it did work. Enjoy the Russian River responsibly. When visiting the river this weekend, remember to pack it in, pack it out, trash first wildlife and contaminates waterways. Pack out everything you pack in, will be a hero and pick up other trash. There was additional messaging after this about the shuttle service as well. I was thinking as I was driving in about downtown Guerneville, and I think there might be a way for us to, we can also do like positive pro-business messaging, or we've done with some other businesses when their areas have been under construction, we've done some like enticing offers. There might be a way to encourage folks when they're coming to Guerneville to stop, get out, have a bite, maybe do some sort of collaboration with some of the businesses or restaurants where like stop in, buy 2 entrees, get a free appetizer or something, just to, I haven't quite figured it all out yet, but as it was coming in, I'm like, we've got to figure out a way to get people to stop and not think that we're closed, because it looks closed and it's not. So those are some of the ways that we've worked on sustainability programming. But like I said, I would like to brainstorm and start to think of how can we strengthen our relationship, not just with regional parks, which is fantastic, but with other land managers and those of you that are impacted by visitors, particularly during those summer months, recognizing that a lot of those visitors are actually folks like myself that live in the county, but then come in to recreate along the river. Plus, those are coming in for the day from, you know, outside of the county, and then also our overnight visitors. So I'm happy to take questions. I know I threw a lot out at you, and I appreciate your time.
With regards to the, you work with the hotels, the
Yeah.
Airbnbs and
Mhm.
VRBOs. What kind of information are you providing them regarding keeping it clean? I always look towards Tahoe and
Yeah.
20 years ago and how they forced the information at all their Airbnbs and VRBOs, even in the bathroom. Every single room we went to, there was information, literature. If you do this, you're out.
Yeah.
We don't really seem to have that here.
Yeah, so vacation rental permitting is through the county, so they do have regulations around some, particularly with natural disasters, and so we do, so a couple things, from a sustainability standpoint, we do provide, so if you sign up to be on the Leave No Trace Coalition, all you're saying at that point is that you're agreeing to use the same practices that you're preaching, and that because Leave No Trace is trademarks, that you're really using their materials in the appropriate way. But we offer several different types of communication. So we've got Leave No Trace Coalition's windows sill, we've got table tents that are available, and we have there's one that's river specific, and that's got, you know, the river. There's a coast specific one, and then there's more of an inland one that we've done. There's a couple of others, some posters and some other materials, plus additional messaging. So when you sign on to be part of the Leave No Trace Coalition as a business, you get back all of this entire toolkit that you can use, and it will provide materials at no cost for you to put in your home.
I'm wondering, like, especially just for the hotels and the visitors, like something like pack it in, pack it out, you provide a reusable bag that they bring it with. You know, the house gets it or whatnot, something. So it's convenient, like here, when you go to the beach, when you go to our parks, when you go hiking, use this, take this with you. It's insulated to bring all your stuff in, and you know, when you leave, just throw it back in here and dump it in the garbage when you head home, something like that. It's make it easy. I just know working with people, you always have to give them all the tools and all the information, so they don't have to look for one thing, otherwise it won't be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about on the campaign focus. So I heard hospitality, wine industry, and what I was just curious about is, do you also build upon, so it can be kind of expansive, you know, sporting and recreation, and building that up so that it can fortify in a different way, whether it's cycling, trail runs, water sports, and then also relationships with restaurants, because what's so unique to this area is the, Michelin star rated restaurants that are here, et cetera, as well as the cuisine. So I didn't quite hear that.
Yeah, no, thank you for your question. Yes, so that is one of the benefits of our TOT funding, is that allows us to really lean in more heavily to our relationships with those entities and into building content. So we have content built for all types of different trips, whether it be something you're coming here for biking, you're coming for, for the culinary. Our PR team was like over the moon this morning. So we have 2 Michelin star restaurants in Sonoma County today that we didn't have yesterday. It's amazing. So we do it through numerous different ways, whether it be content on the website, whether it be how we feature, we're leading to This Is Wine Country, but you're going to see imagery that there's an image that isn't here, but there's one of a chef. There's one that is, beer related. There's a bunch of outdoor imagery, outdoor rec. There's a cycling image. So we lean into that both in paid work and then also in the content, both on our website and then our media pitches that our PR team does. So we have a 3 PR or team of 3 in our PR team, and they do earned media pitches. So they're really working with journalists on telling that story. And sometimes it's seeking, we've got a great story to tell and finding the right journalist to cover that, or it's a journalist coming to us saying, we want to write a story on biking. What can you show us? And so seeking out the stories. We're not membership based. And so one of the biggest challenges that we face is in uncovering what's happening and what businesses we can talk about and making sure that they are listed. So we provide free listings on our website for visitor facing businesses. We also, we provide funding to 13 visitor centers in the county. So we get a lot of fantastic information from them. And then we also, really worked to, try to tell and uncover new stories, or, we'll have I had a business come to us recently and they're like, we're a bike tour and we're based in Windsor, but we're doing a bike, we do have a normal bike tour that we do up and down the coast. And so okay, how do we fit them in to make sure that they're visible where they're actually doing their business versus where their physical addresses? So, my team loves me because they are tired of hearing me say, like, how do we get to yes? That is like my mantra is I love working with small businesses because these are people that are passionate and are working incredibly hard and are providing jobs and are creative. I want to make sure we can try to showcase as many as possible. The biggest challenge we have is making sure that they know how they can utilize us. So we do a lot of, workshops and outreach and things, but we were just talking about it just before I came down here. It was like, how do we get more people to know that we're here and what we can provide to them? So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Spencer.
You mentioned, and I love that you do both the marketing and the stewarding of resources. Is that the stewarding resources the same as your sustainability programming?
That's part, yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about stewarding, it's the triple P is people, planet, profit.
Yeah.
So it's, it's tied into everything that we do. Our marketing team, like Bill, I don't know, I'll give an example. Visit California has an ad that they love to show that makes me cringe. And it's a bunch of children running through a redwood forest off trail.
Mm,
And we actually went to them and we're like, this goes against everything we're telling people to do when they come here. And I think they shot it down running, but still. So our marketing team is very conscious as to how they showcase the county. We talk a lot about, if we put, if there's an image and there's something in it that someone will, like, if social media image and someone comments on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the wrong image, but we do have the conversation internally, are we showing the wrong message or is it giving the wrong idea? Do we need to adjust? So it's that piece, it's the direct sustainability programming that we're doing with our community partners that, we talk about this a lot, most people are gonna, the research is starting to show that responsible travelers, people who want responsible travelers, expect it when they get there. They, it's part of who we are in our DNA. So it's baked in. And so we show it, but more than going out and saying this is a responsible destination is part of the marketing. We're showing good behavior in marketing. And then when people come, reminding them again how they should act when they're here, because they're expecting it when they come here. They expect that this is a sustainable destination. I don't know if that completely answered your question, but it's.
I was just wondering if there were like two different, it sounds like, yeah, it's your programs that help,
Yeah.
integrate sustainable fishing with your
Mhm.
messaging, things like
Yeah.
that. So just making sure those were the same.
Yeah, and so like Black Cod Week, I got to work with our local restaurants at the EDC, but the marketing team, I mean, it went forward through our website. We did some paid social around it. So it was marketed as come to Sonoma County and try Black Cod, but then we were working, the backstory there had to do with our fishing community.
Yeah. Is your budgeting like very tied to like marketing and messaging, or are you able to like spend that money to, I don't know, do things outside of that?
So there's our budget, we're funded, so we've got a marketing team, we also have a business development team, which is doing, we didn't talk about our group sales and working with travel trade and, working with business travel. So, as an organization, like we're in budget process right now, the majority of our funding goes towards marketing, and we say marketing, that's typically paid marketing, but community engagement, which is, about 13.5%, 14% of our budget, depending on the year. That's the work that, like, I spend a lot of money on shooting B-roll community events that our marketing team uses.
Mhm.
So we're out here shooting B-roll for the Pride Parade,
Yeah.
and then our marketing team is using that B-roll with, in their marketing as well. So there's a lot of, it kind of depends on what it is, but yeah.
Two things real quickly. I think you asked, how can you get better known? I
Yeah.
mean, the Supervisor Hopkins said, we came up with something that has been working for the MAC to show up to our community events, a table there, and maybe that's something that would work for you. The other thing, I just wanted to follow up on what Carrie said, that I don't know what percentage of visitors come here because of wine. But I do know what you said, I've read over and over, certainly with younger people, curious, sober, wine is not necessarily going to be the selling point that it was in the past. And so, I mean, you said, well, this is wine country, not this is Sonoma. So apparently it's still something very, very important. But I agree with Carrie that what I see of the people coming in here, they are coming to camp, they are coming to hike. I mean, with these wonderful new parks that we're creating, the county's creating, and say it's really important that people don't just see this as if you want to go there, it's because you want to go to the wine country.
Yeah, and that's why we're going with that, is that we know people aren't coming here for like a 3-day wine tasting trip, the same way they might be going to Napa Valley. They're coming here, wine might be part of their experience, or they might be coming here for a wine experience and discovering outdoors, and then coming back a second time for a different purpose. Or they might be coming here, traveling with somebody in their party who is sober. And so, we're trying to, we still know that the majority of the reason, number one reason people come here is to visit family and friends. Second highest reason people are coming here is for wine tasting. So we're gonna keep, that's a big reason as to how our industry is built as a whole as a county, but we also know that's not the only reason. And usually when people started over in Napa and they come over here, the reason they come back here the next time is because of the other thing.
Right. That's it.
And yet you're marketing wine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really struck me when I went through these slides today.
Yeah.
And it's not me, I'm not a teetotaler.
Yeah.
But my friend Susie's voice came in my head and said, every single page says wine. Every single photo says wine. There are no children in these photos.
I didn't bring anything, but there are.
And that's, when Carrie spoke, I thought, what about the families who come here with their children to play in the river, to go to the beach, to go see seals, to do, and what can they afford? Not a Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
And what can the people, when I think about when my kids were young, we would go to Caesar's Tropical Fish for an outing and not buy anything.
Yeah.
Because it was free.
Yeah.
Because that's what I could afford.
Yeah.
Or we'd go out to Goat Rock, but, or we'd go camping or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think broadening the imagery and the message to attract more people to our parks and our beaches and our river would be a wise choice.
And not forgetting the wine industry.
I'm
Because
not really-
So, yeah, I mean, I will say, like, there was 40 images in my deck that.
Oh, yeah.
I sent to the- So you saw, I just wanna say, like, you saw very, but this is Wine Country, is this the paid campaign for this year? So that is gonna be forward, but yeah, we do have, I understand, I have kids, so I try to completely get the including families, and we do have, the average party that comes here is not necessarily traveling with children, but we do have a lot of information for families that are, because we know that people do, and,
well, and they might more if they.
Right, if they were marketed to.
I just want to mention that, we had talked about this before.
yeah.
One of the things that, if we want to be as residents positive about tourism, we need to help neighborhoods that were just disasters, for example, last summer because of parking issues and all, it's not just trash, it's impacting people in their daily lives who live near a beach. And so I just want you to keep that in mind too. It's not just the,
Yeah.
take it out, pack it in, take it out. It's also like being civil when you're in a neighborhood and understanding what the parking rules. Yes, exactly. The people live there. I think
Everybody
everybody,
the driveway.
everybody thinks it's all Airbnbs or something,
Yeah.
but you know, we live there, so,
Right,
and I know you and I talked about it.
Yeah,
but
no, and I think and that's where I'm looking for ideas as to how to get
Yeah.
creative, because. You know, it's one thing for us to have our Leave No Trace coalition. We can have every business participate, but the impact is on your street.
Right.
In front of your house. So how do we broaden that message?
I go back to that Tahoe, and I
Yeah.
also, it's so silly, but. I went up, I spent a lot of time up there and seeing the like how they hit it hard,
Yeah,
they hit it swift. And the knowledge was like, if you only have 2 cars, you have this many people here, you only get 2 cars.
yes,
And you have to follow the rules, and this is what it is, and it impacts the renter, it impacts the people that are there. And the community was like, listen, here's a pamphlet for you, that if your renter didn't give to you, I'm gonna give it to you, instead of going out and yelling at each other and calling the number that doesn't do anything. That's, information is one, and then I know it sounds copycatting, whatever the word is for it, but Keep Tahoe hit the world. Everyone had to Keep Tahoe
Right,
blue
I still
sticker.
see those.
I mean, if you didn't know what that was, you were definitely not a Californian,
Yeah.
and you hadn't been
Right.
driven through California in
Right.
20 years.
Yeah.
And maybe we do a keep Sonoma green. Something, kind of, yeah, but I'm just like, you have to, you do that, that's what's the marketing message, we're not just wine, we're also forest, we're hiking, we're biking, we're trails, we're this, we're not just winery. Wine may get you coming in and going out, but in between, we're.
Well, we
Maybe
have
wrong,
talked-
but isn't that the point of the campaign? Is to show that like, it's ironic. The point is that like wine country is more than just
Yeah.
wine.
I
That's
know,
what
I
it's-
I was just
But
giving-
the word wine is on
It's
every
it's
page.
to help people who only know that wine country is for wine, realize that there's more.
We say wine country, so, that's.
Yeah, but we're not the
automatically-
only wine country either.
No, I know, but it's
The
automatic.
purpose of my comment is, I know you have pack it in, pack it out but you have to, if you don't have something that symbolizes it, then the umbrella has to be there for everything to fall underneath it. And, I'm very much active on social media. I do a lot of this stuff here, and I downloaded your app and it's amazing. I haven't used it. I don't think anyone in my neighborhood who's involved in all the community don't know about it. So that there has to be a lot of education of what's happening out there, what you guys provide, because I have a checklist now that I could knock off. I'm looking at this and it's amazing. And I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah.
If we're not able to promote it, then,
Yeah.
that's another, I'm from San Francisco, so if I can't tell them to use it, and
Well, to follow up on the idea of us continuing to have discussion, we had talked about setting up, would it be an ad hoc, a stewardship sort of idea?
Yeah, it's depending on what it is, there is. Sort of inactive stewardship group of some MAC members, some retired MAC members, some community members, so it wouldn't necessarily be an ad hoc. But what we've talked about in the past, like with emergency operations, they thought that it would be helpful to have some voices of people in the lower Russian River. So it wouldn't be a formal ad hoc, it wouldn't be part of the MAC, but we could rally a group to meet with you and brainstorm on these kinds of things. So we don't have to do it as a formal action or form it as the
Well,
MAC.
the only thing I worry about that is, it seems like everybody wants to chime in about this.
Yes.
So we have to still be careful about Brown Act issues, right?
Yes, and but not everybody has time to be on.
Right.
So
Not all
we
of
could
us
do,
can
we
when we
could,
don't have time.
we could, and we don't have everybody here today. So we could, just kind of show of hands who would be interested in
Yeah.
participating in something, but then I could also reach out to the rest of the MAC also.
Okay,
And then certainly any of the,
I just want to make sure we continue,
members.
with Kelly and having our voices heard and our ideas sort of presented. Especially as we have a little bit of time before the summer comes,
Yeah.
which is something we're all thinking about. So who would be interested in Jen? I would.
I have a question. So being what Janice just said, this app, this mysterious app that you can.
Yeah.
That I've never had. Do you connect with the Sonoma County permits when they give permits? Because
those would be good people to be connecting with as well, those small little Airbnb people, like, it's just a way to expand the web of,
We would love to have that connection.
so what stops that?
We are not a county department,
Yeah.
so
Uh-huh.
we can make that as a request.
I think it'd be
Yeah,
so useful. It'd be so useful if it was a department information that is given when somebody files
Yeah.
for a talk.
I mean, literally, the biggest connection that we have is that to list a vacation rental on our website, you have to provide it and we'll look it up. But that is, and we know that our packet, our vacation rental emergency packet is provided as a resource to those receiving their TOT permit, but we don't have, because we're not a county, we're, a nonprofit, we would love that. And there are other communities that have that connection directly with their permitting.
I'd love to see that. If it's
I would too. That's a great idea.
I will say I would love to follow up with you. I think that's a great suggestion. And the other thing that I really appreciated was sort of, can we have more mandated information? Like Placer County and Lake Tahoe has like required flyers that you have to post. And I really feel like that was a bit of a missed opportunity, but there might be some additional mandatory education that could be provided to guests that might even be able to be handled administratively without changing the code. But I'll check with permits. No, I really appreciate the feedback, and maybe Kelly, we can follow up.
Yeah,
on it
absolutely.
with closer connection.
Yeah, for sure.
But another thing with the Airbnbs and even hotels is, I remember being in Hawaii and, checking into the hotel and there was a folder, right?
Yeah.
That had everything, these are the 85 snorkeling
Yeah.
opportunities that you have, and, this is, so that's a very helpful thing to have when you're new in town.
Yeah, and I will say a lot of the larger property management companies do work with us directly and do have, like, I know I've sent some of them like 85, leave no trace, materials and things like that, and table tents for all of the homes that they manage. But I agree with Supervisor Hopkins. I think that there's an absolute opportunity. Like I said, we worked very closely with the Department of Emergency Management on the emergency preparedness side and that connection with the vacation rentals, but this sustainability programming has been much more one-off, and so there's definitely an opportunity there.
So in this room, Jen, who is not in this room, Carrie and Betsy were the ones who were interested, and Vicky. And then I'll check with the folks who aren't here, but, or they snooze, they lost. That's already 4.
That's our new motto.
That's
Is everybody in the council done?
I just had one comment, I know you had a lot of images, but lean into the coast, there's a lot, I spend a lot of free time out there. I don't know if you have any, but surfing, that happens in Sonoma County, particularly in the low season. Crabbing,
Seal watching.
Hi,
tide pooling,
kayaking, paddleboard.
yeah. Is there a way to submit it directly?
There is, and I don't have that. I can follow up with you all on it. So we actually do have, and this is one of those things that we, again, is how do we share this with everybody? But we do actually have a way for businesses to tap into our media bank. The one caveat is you have to have full rights usage of the image that you're submitting and be willing to grant that to us so that if we use it, we're legally allowed to use it. But yes, I can share the link. There's a upload.
Great.
If you want to send it to me, I
Yeah.
can share it with everyone.
Anybody in the room would like to ask Kelly a question?
I read an article the other day that said that Sonoma County part of the Bay Area. I mean, do you see us breaking up the Bay Area?
We're Visit California has 12 regions. We are a part of the Bay Area region. With Visit California, they're about to release their regional stewardship plans, and
So you don't see us walking away from that whole.
yeah, we've got partnerships very closely with SF Travel because there's a direct relationship between travelers and go either for longer trips, international or business travelers that come for a weekend here. So we really do want that relationship, but we also know that if you're along our coastline, there's no differentiation for a traveler as to what county you're staying in if you're staying on the coast. So we also have a with the State of California Coast Initiative with Marin and Mendocino. And we're working now to figure out how to extend that beyond. So, you know, we're so closely tied to the Bay Area in so many ways, and I don't foresee that changing. For us.
It wasn't bizarre kind of.
Yeah. We do border the Bay.
You have two
You wanna know
online.
my secret
Okay.
recipe, but,
I'll bring,
We'll have online.
we have two online comments. Nick, if you unmute yourself, you can make your public comment.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I agree with all of the representatives who were pointing out how heavily based on wine this all is. I thought that was astute and not very forward-looking. I also wanted to point out that all of the public materials that we saw today were in English entirely, as far as I remember. And anyway, the majority of them, I think. And I just wanted to encourage you to make sure that everything is available in English and in Spanish, to the extent that it's not. I'm sorry if I missed something. But anyway, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
Vesta, if you unmute yourself.
Okay. First of all, when you go into the website, all of those various activities are visible, both in terms of images that are on the homepage as well as broken out into experiences. But before I get into that topic, I want to thank you for putting emphasis on the DEI. In this current climate, it's very brave. It's also a great marketing ploy, quite frankly, because Russian River, Sonoma County continues to be a safe place for people to travel because the majority of people here are of like mind. It's a golden bubble of love and understanding. And so as you put your emphasis on still supporting the DEI in spite of the political climate, I think that it's the biggest thing is it is a safe place to come. And yes, you are loved and appreciated here. And I think it's a huge message to get out into the world right now. People need a safe place to go. The other one is on your website, you have things broken out into food and wine, events, experiences, activities, lodging, and planning tools. I would like one of the big buttons to say family. And I think you can do it because you have events, which is basically an event calendar. And then also under experience or activities, I think is where you also have an event calendar. So you have room across the top of that web page to have one of those tabs be specifically family and put an emphasis on everything family that families can do, where they can eat, where they can get cheap things, where they can get free things. God knows everything could be totally family oriented on that one tab, which would be extremely useful. I know in a town like where I live in Forestville, it's very family oriented. The other one is that when I did an, what do you call it, ROI for a marketing campaign for the Russian River area, it became Respect Russian River. And one of the suggestions the agency and I worked with was an app on your phone where you can find trash cans and restrooms. And it's extremely easy to do it on Google Maps. As the vacation rental committee, we put together a map with all the vacation rentals where you could find out where they were in neighborhoods. And it was so easy on this Google map. You literally download the information, it pops them up on the map. So wet restrooms and trash cans are huge issues for us who live here. So that would be a very easy thing for you to have on your website and on your app that people come to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else online?
We have no more hands raised online. Right. For public comment.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Because that was a follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we can move into ad hoc discussions. First up is the land use ad hoc and a cargo container storage facility in Pocket Canyon. Who I did not see this in the,
No, because it wasn't.
okay, so it's just a
available yet.
handout,
It's
okay.
just a handout and. But this is in
It's
Betsy's
in-
area.
It's in Pocket Canyon,
Yeah,
so
I
Debbie
was gonna
asked
ask
me
who was
to.
gonna speak to.
To
yeah.
address,
Yeah.
to address our meeting. So we had a Zoom meeting and asked a lot of questions. And you'll see this handout here where it looks as if Debbie sent our questions to Permit Sonoma.
I did send the questions to Permit Sonoma. I think, this is a new process for us. And I think, they did not respond. And it's either that, it was a really short turnaround before our meeting from when we had this.
Right.
Or it may just be that, we don't get the answers. We can just send the questions all together, from a group conversation at this meeting.
Right, yeah. So I thought I'd go over the questions that we asked. Well, first of all, this is the old Forestville Wood Products property. And they want to put in storage. They want to bring in storage containers and set up a storage facility. Feeling that would, since there is one of their talking points was that Forestville is the closest place to Guerneville that there's any kind of storage facility, so this would meet the needs of people in Guerneville and further out
Above the flood,
above the flood.
above the flood.
Indeed. So the questions we asked, we're wondering if they intended to expand. And it looks like the property owner himself in red in this handout has said that, yeah, he would like to do that. He's not clear if it would require a new permit, but that's a question again for the permit people. We were concerned about any kind of environmental implications. There is a creek that runs through that property. And he was talking about adding concrete slabs. And we were worried about possibly an environmental impact if, heavy rain and any kind of drainage issues that might cause. Because I don't know how many of you have been there in the wintertime, but it's pretty soggy.
But wait a second, I thought it wasn't slabs, I thought it was,
Well, that's what he said. He intends to anchor rather than slab.
and then would be ready to
Yeah.
go ground.
So he just doesn't know the process. I don't know. Okay, you want to explain, Vicky, how our process goes?
Look at you.
You were asking a question, wasn't sure what I should do.
We promise that you will get your chance to
Yes,
respond.
we do want to hear from you.
I'll be right here.
Thank you
Yeah.
for answering all our questions. We were concerned about the types of materials that can be stored, and it looks as if our property owner is not allowing any kind of hazmat. We were concerned about whether the neighbors had been notified about what was going on, the expansion, and if they're concerned about traffic. I'm not sure that so apparently they were all notified, and some have reached out to him. We were concerned about the place being wired, because I don't know if you electrified because of the storage units like this you open up the end and they're dark inside. So will they be accessible after dusk or anything like that? But it looks like you don't intend to electrify, which is interesting. And then we were concerned about if you were gonna have more than one customer in each storage unit, and it looks like that's not an issue. So, anything else that anybody wants to add to our list of concerns and questions would be more than.
Anybody else from the group? Carrie?
Yeah, I have a question. So when, I do have kind of a follow-up question to the responses, but I don't know the appropriate time.
Well, he's gonna
Let's let him respond.
Yeah,
Great, just want to make sure.
I have a question. Is there an existing structure that's being taken down, or this is purely additions?
No,
Is there anything there? There's a map. Cool.
The permit, the application and everything.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Mike, thank you. Would you like to come up and respond?
What would you like to know?
Committee?
To your follow-up questions, thank you. And thank you for being here. Sorry, I can't see with my readers on. Thank you, appreciate it.
Actually, the before commentary was really actually interesting. What they're planning on doing with, what this little lady was talking about was really interesting.
We're happy.
I have a lot of questions myself about that.
Okay, well, in circling back, I wanted to our first point was the expansion potential. And curious that, do you have a set, and I know we're supposed to hear from the county if, and we don't know anyone in this group, I don't think, if an additional permit will be required to expand past the number of 8 units that you've already put it
I
in.
have no idea what the county wants. I put in permits for 8 because that's what we wanted to start with.
Speak louder.
Carrie, speak louder.
Louder, yeah.
Okay.
So I think I have to get a permit for each individual unit, which kind of sucks, but that's what we're gonna do.
I see, okay, have you had a chance to start getting these established and rented and?
The firewood people vacated, they left a huge environmental mess that we're cleaning up at the time.
Uh-huh.
And they left like 4 or 5 units there. So we kind of took those and lined them all up. And then we decided what, we're done with the firewood. It's been a firewood company there for like the early 80s.
Right.
And we're pretty much done with that. We want to like move forward with this project and make it more friendly. So there was units already on the property. So those are the units we're starting with. And then I want to get to like 25 to 40 units basically. I wanted to get some smaller units for people, but they're more expensive than the 20-foot units.
25 to 40?
25 to 40, hopefully.
I do have more questions. I don't want to like monopolize it.
Other questions, Patty, if you have anything?
I don't have a question, but I have been to his property, and I've seen what it was before with the wood and what happened after they left and what he's done since then. And it's pretty impressive, the amount of work and cleanup they have done.
It's cleanup work.
Matt, I mean, it's unlike anything I could have ever seen happen in the short time that they did it.
Wow.
It keeps like, it's gonna be a few more years.
Sounds impressive.
So the containers that you do have there, have you anchored them? Have you?
No, I don't want to do anything until
Until you get-
actually, because if they don't allow us to do it, then
Why bother?
That makes sense.
So it was just a matter of, you had a grand idea of using these containers that got left behind.
pretty much, yeah, then we're moving forward with that. It's feasible, it's what people actually need. And hopefully the idea is to go for a monthly flea market eventually. I was up in the Sierras about 10 years ago and I stopped by this yard sale sign, and it was a huge storage facility of like 500 units. And the property owners allowed them to sell once a month to get rid of the stuff, to move on and actually move into smaller units and to pay the rent, obviously. And there was like 200 people selling there, and it was just a huge community event. And I kind of want to go towards that way, to have like a little once-a-month yard sale, or flea market, basically.
But that would that require another?
It probably would,
Yeah.
but it's all right. That's the direction I kind of want to go in.
You're in the permit business.
Yeah.
Have you thought about what you charge for a unit?
The units are gonna be $200 each. I wouldn't want to, I want to do it feasibly. I want people to be able to afford it, for one thing.
How big are they?
The units I have right now are 20 feet long and 8 feet wide.
And they're all the same size? The 4 that you
Yes,
have,
I want to get smaller units, but they're just,
too expensive.
I've been looking for about a year now to try to get smaller units. I really want to get like 10-foot units because, most people don't need 20-foot units.
Yeah.
And the 10-foot units actually cost more than the 20-foot units do. So it's
Yes, but
amazing,
you probably rent more of them out
a lot more, I believe, yeah.
than the big ones.
A couple more questions for you. One is, so you have contacted your neighbors and I'm just curious, do you feel, so especially, I know it might be an additional permit if you do this like yard sale or, marketplace, but have all of your neighbors that surround, you've had conversations, are they doing?
Carrie, I'll
Everybody's-
clarify, Permit Sonoma notified them.
Okay.
as part of the-
They all got letters, they all called me on the phone, asking what the hell was going on.
That I just had a question on there was just, and I know that around the units, is there a plan, is it gravel? I just was wondering what kind of access
The road has been like gravelled, it started out like in the forties as a lumber yard. And where the lumber mill actually is where we're gonna do this, and it's been gravelled for like 60 or 70 years. It's really hard surface. The units are pulled right up to the road itself, so there's, there is no reason to do anything. The cement would be just a pain in the ass. I'll do it if I have to, but I really don't want to. There really isn't a reason to anchor them down. I mean, if you hit it with a truck, it just moves it a little bit. These things are just bulletproof. I mean, they're made, to be picked up off a ship and put down, and it's crazy that we actually have to get permits to anchor them to the ground to begin with. It's bizarre, but it's okay. I understand. It's whatever they want, they get, because, I want to do it properly, but if he went out and looked at it right now, you would say, oh, that's perfectly fine there.
Can you tell us if your neighbors have reached out to you, what kinds of things are they concerned about?
They want to tease me because they got a letter.
But
That's
are they
pretty much it.
worried about?
Are they concerned?
No, nobody is concerned about anything. One, Kevin Hart, who is my neighbor on the west side, just didn't want to see them, which is fine. If they're nowhere near his house, and he was like, that's fine. My neighbor John, who is across from me, is just like, what are you doing? Or he actually knows all about it. He just wanted to give me a hard time. There really has been no issues at all, so.
Patty?
I was just gonna say, I know myself and a number of my neighbors would love to be able to have storage capabilities, other than in Santa Rosa or Runner Park or whatever, so. But probably the smaller units, so I hope if this all goes through, you're able to look at the
I
smaller units.
really need to find some smaller units. There was one place that I was looking into, and then it turned out to be a scam. I was like, who's gonna scam somebody for training? It's just like, actual. I mean, the people that want the units, like in the last like 5 years, the units in Santa Rosa have been being bought up by bigger corporations. And they like quadrupled the price, and people are just like, they don't know what to do. It's almost like the PG&E thing. It's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Very true.
And it's, for what I have, it's highly desirable. Like I could have rented out like 30 or 40 already in this last year. People are coming to me, they heard about it. I'm just like, I can't do anything until I'm done with the county. I'm sorry. It's actually crazy. The price in Santa Rosa has like quadrupled in the last like 2 years. It's like, and this keeps on going up. It's like, oh my God.
Well, not to mention having to travel to Santa Rosa, everything.
Yeah, or enforceable even went up to like, I don't know why they keep on raising the prices, but because they get away with it, there's no other storage.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do something for the community and, and plus for myself at the same time, so. That's pretty much all there is to it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
Just one little brief one about restrictions in the contract. Do you have any concerns about hoarding?
About what?
Hoarding?
No, we actually just cleaned up a hoarder of one of our tenants. Decided to be, his father died like about 3 or 4 years ago, and so he started hoarding. And we didn't realize it because he has like a whole acre to himself. And all of a sudden we realized that it took us like about 6 months just to clean his mess up. And he's still there. His mother lives there. And it was just crazy. But if somebody wants to hoard, they can hoard all they want as long as it's in that 20-foot container.
And then as long as it's not.
Exactly.
Or full of
There's nothing allowed outside the containers. That's one of the things.
No food, no-
And the containers are sealed, so the rats can't get inside.
Right.
It's a completely sealed system, so they're
What
nice.
is damp though?
The dampness may or may not be an issue. They actually, I'm probably gonna have to vent them more. They work fine this particular season. They work very fine, so I'm not too worried about it. If I have to add more vents to the containers, I will, but for now, they worked out pretty well, very well, so far, so good.
Okay, good. Yeah, but are they full? The ones that you, I mean.
The ones are full already, yes, the ones I have,
Okay.
they're all full.
Okay, any other?
It just, you know, to think about, you know, say something that's upholstered all winter in a cold place.
Well, they're metal, so
Yeah, I
like
know.
early in the morning,
They go in the ocean.
Yeah, they do. They come across from China every day.
Okay,
Okay.
I feel answered.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody in the audience? Steve?
Yeah, I read your,
If you
Can
could
you
come
come up so that those online can hear?
thank you for your presentation. My question is regarding said you have a 5,000-gallon water tank there? Is that right?
Yes.
And you have a fire engine as well? And are there hydrants there as well?
Next to the containers, it's right next to. It's about 50 feet from the well. The well is a high pressure 1.5 inch.
It's your well on site. There's not a water
No,
hydrants.
no.
All right, well, I think it's great. I think I can go.
comment.
Okay, oh, well,
wait.
Oh,
I was just gonna say, based on what I heard, I don't have any concerns about this. Seems like it would be.
let's hear from
Yeah.
online too, to make sure we hear from everybody.
Vesta, you can unmute yourself.
First of all, I want to thank you for cleaning up the property. The environmental hazard there was severe. So what you've done so far has been impressive and absolutely necessary, and it had to have been expensive as well. I wondered about, like, I've had a unit back when I published at the Empire Storage, and I have several friends who have units at Empire Storage. They have what do you call it, sprinkler systems inside them. So when they're no different in terms of a metal tank with no light, with no air circulation and all the rest of it. The only thing that's different is that they have sprinkler systems. Is that something that you could plan to have, or is that part of the permitting process, that you would have sprinkler systems inside those storage units? And also, are you offering insurance for the people who have contents in those units as well? Or would that make you have to basically charge as much as everybody else does with the security cameras and all the rest of it? Is there a plan on how you can compare yourself to something like Empire Storage, which is like a mile or two away? Is that possible?
There will be no sprinkler systems in the units.
Sorry, we can't,
So,
I'm being told.
thank you for your public comment, Vesta.
Comment is not the same as a question to be
Right.
answered.
Oh,
But if council wants to bring that up and ask
Anybody on
the
the council
applicant
feel
further
like that's
questions.
something to follow up on? I'm
Well,
not
it sounds
saying-
to me as if they're not gonna be electrified, it's gonna be a little difficult to put a sprinkler system in.
Yeah. I would agree. Anybody else online?
Nobody else online.
Okay,
So what
What
the
can we do?
process here now is, according to, the completion packet. Oh, that's my alarm. Vesta's done. There are 4 areas that, four topic areas of feedback that can come from the MAC to permit Sonoma. So this is verbatim from the packet. A statement of any environmental concerns or uncertainties the MAC has with the project. And this isn't an opportunity to, approve or deny or anything. All this is Permit Sonoma sends these completion packets out to the community and then receives input. It's just like if one of the neighbors sent a letter. So you, as an organization, if you have questions that you just want them to look at. So any environmental concerns, any comments you wish to make regarding the merits of the project, identification of any missing information, or application submittals that would preclude you from providing conditions and mitigations for this project in the future. And I don't think that one really applies necessarily here, but because this is a process that we're building, I'm just sharing all of that with you. And then, your proposed conditions for approval or mitigations for this project. So it seems to me that, you just have some questions, environmental concerns or uncertainties. There were 7 questions that came out of the ad hoc, and I think only 3 of them, I think, are left unanswered.
Those are the ones that the permits.
Yeah, like expansion potential, just what would happen with that? Environmental considerations, if permit Sonoma does require cement slabs, what would the environmental, they might not even be doing that, but if that's something that the MAC would like to give feedback. I don't even know if it's answered. You're just providing, you're sort of like public commenters. So we're gonna send just what your thoughts are, and Permit Sonoma will take those into consideration as they walk through the approval process, and we'll learn some things. And then the anchoring requirements, we're not sure if Permit Sonoma is going to require that.
I was just wondering, would it make sense, do we have time for the ad hoc to generate what is a proposed submission to Permit Sonoma and just circulate it to the MAC, or do we have to do this all tonight?
I thought that, well, we can't circulate something outside of the meeting, but I thought if you gave me direction, I could then write it up and send it.
Okay.
Well, don't we need to hear from the county on the questions that they haven't answered?
No, we'll send those along too. Like, we looked at this, this is what we wonder.
So
And
we'll have questions, comments.
yeah,
And it seemed to me that the group was favorably disposed and had pretty much appreciated that this project is being looked into, and I would like to include that as well as the question, so it doesn't just come across as too negative, because it sounds like to me that we're not negative about this project at all.
yeah, there's just some things that you're not sure about.
Exactly.
Right.
Agreed, other than the questions that are outstanding, me personally, I don't, it seems to me that the gentleman is a good steward of the property and is trying to improve it. It seems like it's a service that is needed and affordable, and I don't have any concerns.
Yeah, I think that's what we say.
I'm speaking for myself. the others
No, I
can-
think that's.
And do you agree that it's questions 1, 2, and 3, expansion potential, environmental considerations, if slabs were required, and then, anchoring requirements. We got answers on any storage restrictions, so that doesn't even have to go to Permit Sonoma anymore. Neighbor notifications, we know that happened. We know that there won't be electrical and that the containers won't be modified. So I will just, send those 3 questions along with the fact that the MAC is in favor of this project and thinks it'll be a benefit to the community.
Agreed?
Agreed. So, I think we need to do a vote.
Okay,
So a motion,
an aye or an,
and first,
Okay.
one person has to make a motion that that to have staff send,
Make a motion.
send these questions. So moved. To Permit Sonoma. So it's Betsy and then Spencer, and now you
all
can
in
just do it.
favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Good job.
No, I don't get to do, I don't get to do that till the end, Steve. Come on. All right.
Thank you for being here for so
Thanks for
long.
coming.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. All right, so let's move on to community engagement and outreach plan. We met, I'm on that group, Patty Fair, Terry, Betsy, and Faye actually attended. And we did include the wordsmith version of the plan in the packet. Patty, if you want to say a few words, since you had the most valuable comments and changes. Is there anything you'd like to tell the council before we adopt?
No, I thought the process was great, really, really good input from our newer members, to help us streamline and communicate better. And I'm really glad to hear that what we did before in the last 2 years has had some impact. And I think this is a good distillation going forward, what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you for calling on it.
Any questions or comments from the rest of the council?
Oh, well, I would say one other thing is there's a lot there, but it was trying to balance between sort of generalities and then some specifics of what can be done. So.
Right. Anybody have any comments? Were you able to read it? That should be the question. And then, do we vote on adoption then, please? Do we have to move? Okay.
Move that we adopt the plan, it's written.
Thank you. Thank you. And can I get ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right, we've adopted our
CEOP,
and
I've created a new acronym for you.
Yay.
CEOP has been adopted.
that's too close
I
to
know.
a COP. With the acronym. Okay, and the last thing we have tonight is the adoption of the agenda for February 13th.
The minutes.
The minutes, sorry, and the, thank you for.
And
helping
the
with
annual report, it's all
And the
taken, unless
annual
somebody
report, yes.
wants to remove it to have a dialogue about it, but they
that.
should
Well,
be.
let's talk about any.
They're not
changes
even,
to it.
they're consent agenda, so if people don't have comments.
That's it.
Mhm.
Any comments? So I do believe,
We have like. I'll move to.
Yeah.
approve the consent Agenda.
although, who's gonna
So
move?
Ty,
it?
I just moved.
Okay.
I
I'll
did,
second.
Ty and Betsy,
Yeah.
and then just see if there's any
Aye.
public comment on it,
Oh, yeah, we got it.
Any public comment on
on the
the
consent.
agenda,
Do we have
sorry,
any public-
consent agenda? Anybody online? Okay.
No, there was no.
So now,
So adjourned.
so adjourned.
On the consent. Now we vote.
All eyes. Anybody opposed?
Yes.
Oh, actually, any abstentions for people who weren't at the. meeting?
Abstention
Oh, yeah, you,
What?
Jen wasn't here.
Abstention on the minutes. I
Abstention on the
participated.
minutes. So do we have a quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4. We do have a quorum of people who were at the last meeting. So, so we have Patty and, Jen abstained. Okay. Now you can bang your.
I'm afraid to because something's. Spencer. We're gonna have this next. Nick, I mean.
Don't.